Welcome back, Otafest listeners, to the Otafest podcast. This is Jay, and once again, I am joined by none other than the illustrious Angelo.
I'm illustrated.
Yeah. Weekly.
Weekly? Why would I be weekly illustrated? Like they had like a very tender grip on the pencil. They're like, oh,
Exactly.
yes, I have to just gently stroke the line of his brow.
They captured the subtlest of your features.
I want to be illustrated strongly. I want like a 5-year-old with crayons going full force, stabbing the construction paper with them, to make me look like I'm correct.
I mean, we can make that happen. I know 5-year-olds.
We know 5-year-olds. We know crayons. Let's go.
Exactly.
I'm angry.
Why are you angry?
Angry about clouds.
Not cloud.
Not cloud.
Which cloud?
Clouds.
Like
Plural.
Sinking to the cloud?
I don't know if you noticed, being your wonderful shut-in self, spending all of your time in your wonderful comfy abode. It got snowy out there. Like, my God, there's been more than a foot of snow on the ground since the beginning of Monday, over the last week.
It has snoon.
I am just, on one hand, it was coming. It was coming, right? It was a month and a half late. We deserved this snow all the way back in October. And it just never showed up. We had a wonderful time, exceptionally warm. And then all of a sudden, it's like, have 3 inches of snow. Next day, 2 more inches. And then over the weekend, we get another 6 inches of snow. Oh my God. Oh my God. We've got a little chair on our patio, on our deck, on our balcony.
Yes, I saw.
And the snow piling up on it looks like a keyboard keycap. It is just that proper size, shape,
it's cute.
Taper. I want to go and take some like water with food coloring in it, and I just want to put like an S or an F or something. F to pay respects.
No, you got to do something more creative. I suggest / and question mark.
Oh, that would be nice. And if I've got a different legend on it, if it's like a keyboard with a Japanese legend, there can also be like a dot and a little no.
Yeah?
Yeah. Yeah, that might be
time.
fun. Actually, I think that's neh. I'm not sure.
But yeah, I feel like it was a long time coming. We've had a pretty extended fall-ish feeling in the air. And then I also feel like we haven't seen this level of white precipitation for years in terms of like accumulation. There's been so many times where
I feel like the
November,
last big
December,
snowfall.
January, it's all like we have a little bit of snowfall, but for the most part, it melts. And then you see grass for a while, for like weeks, and then get snow again. This has been the first while where it feels like a winter from the 90s.
It really does. Like, I remember last year we had that one crazy snowfall in September that all melted within 2 days. And then we didn't have snow again until December. This time, we have a foot of snow. It is accumulating everywhere, and there is no timeline in sight for when it might melt. I think we're looking at negative temperatures for the foreseeable future. And oh my God, I don't know if you've tried to use transit to go anywhere over the last week. Have you had any places you've needed to go?
No, not really. I mean, I'm one of those. I have mostly everything I need, and then I usually just walk to the grocery store if I need anything. And it hasn't been, I will point out, even with all the snow, I won't actually say it's been that cold because there hasn't been that much wind.
No, it hasn't actually been that cold. I think the coldest we've gotten has been like negative 14 ish. And that's like in the dead of night. Over the course of the day, it's been usually like between -4 to -10. And that is, it's a bit nippy, but it's not bad. I feel like the only thing, I felt like a goober the other day because I was walking home from the train station. I was walking home from the train station in the middle of snowing. It was dark out, but I was wearing sunglasses, basically sunglasses at night, just to keep the blowing snow out of my eyes. People were giving me weird looks, being like, who this guy? Who this guy wearing fucking sunglasses this time of day? And I'm just like, don't care. No snow in my eyes. I'm happy.
Nope, I think that's perfectly fair. You know, you gotta protect the old eyeballs. How else are you supposed to watch anime without your eyeballs?
Exactly.
But yeah, your regularly scheduled old man yells at Cloud, but conveniently leaves out yelling at Aerith and Tifa
Why would I
and Red
yell at Aerith or
13.
Tifa? Aerith's dead and Tifa's hot.
I don't know. Why would you?
Oh my god.
Well, maybe it's because I feel like they don't belong anywhere anymore, except in nostalgia. Stop letting them win things for being dead or for being hot.
Oh. No, for real though. For real though. The Golden Joystick Awards just came out, and Final Fantasy VII Rebirth won Best Soundtrack and Best Storytelling. And quite frankly, I'm not saying that the soundtrack or the storytelling is bad. We heard the soundtrack in 1999, 1998, 26 years ago, give or take.
Yeah.
And I mean, of course, they're going to have like re-recordings. There's going to be some new tracks in there. But a lot of the music, I'm not saying it's bad. It hits just as hard as it did almost 3 decades ago. But we've heard it all before. They make some room. Make some room for other IPs. And same with the storytelling. I understand that there's a difference between story and storytelling, right? You could tell the story of Final Fantasy VII in like caveman gestures and grunts and being like, ooga booga, Sephiroth popped out. Brrr. And that's bad storytelling, obviously.
I thought that's exactly what happened.
It is exactly what happened. But they flowered up the storytelling a little bit. And so I understand that Final Fantasy VII has really good storytelling because the story, being almost 30 years old, 3 decades old, it was good back then. It's still good. And they've just refined it. Hell, this isn't even the first time the story of Final Fantasy VII has been refined. They've had multiple add-ons. They've had expansions like the Vincent game. They've had a whole bunch of lore compounded on it through like, what is the word I'm looking for? Kingdom Hearts and such. They've got so much development in the characters since Final Fantasy VII came out the first time that they're able to bundle it all up. They're able to make it really, really big and impactful in a way that the previous one couldn't do because it was limited in its graphics. It was limited in voice acting. In fact, a complete lack of voice acting, basically. So I understand the storytelling is very different, but it is the same story.
Oh, absolutely. It's the same story.
Move aside Final Fantasy VII.
Yes.
Take a back seat.
Are there no new games that can take the place of best soundtrack or best storytelling? Songs we've heard before and stories we already know? Is
You know
that not
what?
weird to anybody?
You know what we need? We need Jet Set Radio to come back and steal best soundtrack for the next 20 years. That's what we need.
I mean, that would be amazing. First of all, I'm more on board with that than you think. I
No, there's a reason I said that because I was like, you know what? I would forgive it if it were this. If it were Jet Set Radio winning best soundtrack, I would disregard everything I said. I would put my fist down the throat of anybody complaining and be like, you don't deserve to talk right now. It's Jet Set Radio time.
They already make exceptions for, essentially DLC and retold stories as it is. So if they're gonna do it, please just do it with like a franchise that has amazing music and is forgotten.
You know what I would love? My God, I just had the most awful, wonderful idea, and my life is going to be incomplete knowing that it'll never happen. Imagine a game with the graphics, art style, soundscape, overall soundtrack similar to Jet Set Radio, but with the character creator and story mode of Tony Hawk's Underground.
That would be that would be fantastic. I heard Tony Hawk is currently working on another skateboarding game
I
through
hope it's as
another
good as
through an
Tony Hawk's
interview.
Underground.
I mean,
Not even Tony Hawk's Underground 2 was as good as Tony Hawk's Underground.
I have not followed up on the skating video game scene in a long time
It's been very long.
because I haven't heard of anything that was really that good since like the 2000s skating games, you know?
Exactly. At some point, those sort of games came more about. It was less the attitude and setting, and more just watered down. Be at a skate park, do tricks, land tricks, get score, big number, monkey brain go burr. And there is absolutely something fun about that. There is something nice about that, and especially games like Skate, if I remember correctly, where it is exceptionally technical. You have to be as good at skateboarding as you basically have to be at fighting games for Skate.
Hmm.
But I don't know. There is a market for grinding power lines literally all across the city while switching up your trick every 5 seconds to increase that multiplier, all while you're trying to follow that goddamn dirty Eric Sparrow and put him in his place.
True.
Modern skate games don't do that.
I wonder why.
I don't know. Oh. But there's some other really cool awards for games that have been out for literally ever. There was the Still Playing Award for Minecraft. And quite
Yes.
frankly, I'm not that salty about it. I'm more baffled. But that is the correct category for Minecraft. That is basically the Minecraft category.
Hmm. I feel like Minecraft, if you've ever played it and fell in love with it, you're always willing to go back to it. But it just means, but you're not like playing it constantly, but you're happy to go back to play it. And
Absolutely.
it's there
Well,
for you.
Minecraft, and I'm not the first person to say this, I'm not going to be the last person ever either. Minecraft is basically digital Legos. If someone pulled out a tub of Legos right now, started swishing them around, and the little plastically clinking sounds entered my ears, I would probably stop recording this podcast and go build some stuff with Legos. Or I would maybe just exercise the most smallest modicum of self-restraint and just cut the podcast off 15 minutes early instead. A 30-minuter
Wow.
instead of a 45-minuter. But Minecraft kind of fills that role where it is the box of Legos on your PC. You load it up, you can go into a new world, or you can go into a world you haven't touched in 5 or 6 years and just explore, have a good time, build something new. It's good.
Yeah, and they keep on putting out DLC.
That is the crazy thing. Every time I've gone into Minecraft, there's been something that I don't know. Something new. I think the last time I went to Minecraft back in late 2020 or 2021, I can't remember what it was, there were these glowing berries that grow from the ceiling. And they were so pretty. Like, what the fuck, Minecraft? When did you get unironically gorgeous?
It's true. But it deserves like a category like that. There's another category that I thought was interesting. And Golden Joystick is maybe almost too granular in its categories
Yeah.
because another similar category to Still Playing Award, but only for console and PC, there was this Still Playing Award for mobile. And I think that went to Honkai
Honkai
Star
Star
Rail.
Rail.
I'm like, all right, but you can also play Minecraft on your phone. So
What's crazy about that is Honkai Star Rail, is it even 2 years old?
I think it's older than you want it to be. I think it's 3 years old.
Is it 3 years? No. No, it's not even 2 years old. It
Oh,
came out April of 2023.
all right.
It is
I
a
feel better
year and a
about that.
half old. Why
So shouldn't that
is
be a
it?
game you're still playing?
I mean, that's like saying, oh yeah, I'm still playing Elden Ring Shadow of the Erd Tree. You could say I'm something of a retro gamer. I don't know. I feel like still playing award on mobile should be given to like Flappy Bird. It's like, yeah,
Maybe you're right.
people are still playing it this far later, but except didn't Flappy Bird actually come out, some NFT bro or something got the license to it somehow because the original developer abandoned it, and now it's unironically like an NFT project or something.
Aren't they all?
Ugh. Ugh. Every time I remember something like that, some old little thing just being remade, remade into something horrible. Ooh, I need some brain bleach.
A really fun game that came out. Brain Bleach, I find, is always the hidden gems, like indie games.
Oh yeah.
Balatro is way up there right now. Um, they won Best Indie Game for the Golden Joystick. Golden Joystick also chose Another Crab's Treasure for the Best Self-Published Indie Game, which I would say, while I think that, again, Golden Joystick categories are kind of maybe too granular at times, uh, self-published is really impressive. It is definitely not the same as being an indie game that is then contracted to publishing companies
The
for
funny thing
distribution.
about that is that that's what indie game meant.
Oh yeah, that's also
Indie
true.
game does not indie games started as self-publishing. That's what indie meant. But now indie
Hmm.
games are just low budget games, usually designed by a very small team, and it doesn't matter how much money they have behind them, from a publisher or not, they can still be called indie.
Hmm.
I'm not going to be that much of a stickler for the rules, but seeing indie game self-published, it feels like the term indie game has lost its meaning in that way. But
Hmm.
no, Another Crab's Treasure looks really fun. I haven't played it myself, but I've watched some friends play it, and it's just like, correct me if I'm wrong, it is just Crab Dark Souls.
It is, but it's really funny. It is
It's got
definitely
heart.
yeah, it's definitely an homage to that to the whole Souls genre, but it's also very funny in its own like flavor because let's be honest, we're never gonna see, well, never's maybe too a word, but we're almost never gonna see Souls games in like non-Eastern European based fantasy uh settings, you know? But another crab's treasure for people who don't know it is literally you're a hermit crab, and along the way you can find different shells that'll give you different stat boosts as you go along the seafloor to fight enemies. It's very fun. It looks like I haven't played it yet, but I would love to play it because it just has a lot more character to it for me. And some people will go nuts on me for saying that Souls doesn't have character. It does, but it's almost always like it feels somewhat the same. Maybe like Sekiro is a little bit different than Bloodborne for
Well,
sure.
it's like Souls-like games almost always take themselves very, very seriously, right? Like when
Yes,
you're looking at all of the Dark Souls, Elden Ring, Bloodborne, they are dark, gritty environments. Even when you get into the to things like Lies of P, it is intended to be like a little bit scary, a little bit spooky. There's stuff going on and you're supposed to feel like a little guy, like the world is stacked against you. But another crab's treasure is just it's bright, it's fun. They're very friendly NPCs, and some of the
yeah,
friendly looking NPCs are actually enemies that will try to fight you.
yeah. I really think it was it's just a way to reinterpret that genre. Like you can still have the gameplay, but you don't need to have it just be dark and foreboding and
It's allowed to be more fun. It is
yeah,
allowed to evoke that colorful, fun wonder neuron that you've got.
exactly. Um, to other categories that we have here. So there's what's interesting is that there are multiple best game categories, and
Yeah,
we're
there's
not talking
best
about genres.
multiplayer game, which went to
Yes,
Helldivers, and fair enough, Sasuke Helldivers.
there's PC game of the year, there's console game of the year.
And that's what's really funny. Like if we look at console game of the year versus PC game of the year, Helldivers 2 won console game of the year, even though it is entirely available on PC, extremely popular on PC. People love it on
Right.
PC. But PC game of the year went to Satisfactory, which, to my understanding, is basically 3D Factorio.
Yeah, and it's also the only win it has.
And
It's not part of the greater multitude of wins like Helldivers has multiple wins
And
across
this
different
goes
categories.
back to like the granularity issue of some of these categories. Some of these categories, it does feel like they exist just to add fluff to it, or to
Yes, or
maybe
like
give a game
participation
that
trophies.
was good. Yeah. Yeah, it really is participation trophies, isn't it? Oh, that feels so bad.
It
Ooh.
does because some of these, like a lot of these games do deserve the attention they get. But at the end of the day, like if you just need to find a reason for them to get something, it feels strange.
It does. It feels like it's invented just to create something for this game to score in.
Hmm.
Most wanted game being Grand Theft Auto 6. On one hand, that's not unexpected. Grand Theft Auto 5 has been out for what? 12 years now? Something
Maybe
crazy?
more. Yeah. I don't know. I think it's a great pun. It's
11
the most
years.
wanted
I was
game.
actually it is most wanted. It is the most wanted game. Exactly.
Yeah.
And that's really
I still
funny,
have
but
fun. I still have with GTA. I still play my guy and run around and drive and fly. I sometimes will kill people, but I really don't do that much anymore. I really just
GTA
like driving
5 is
my
practically in
imaginary cars.
the same gaming limbo that Minecraft is, where if you go to most people, very few of them will actually say, yes, GTA 5 is the best game that I've ever played. But there are legitimately people out there who have been playing it for over a decade now.
Hmm. I want, oh, in that same vein, I know we're talking about Golden Joystick, and I know that we've talked about the Video Game Awards, which is coming up. One of the categories that Video Game Awards has that Golden Joystick doesn't have is like best ongoing support, which I think, in my opinion, is like the way they also phrase it as like how they support the community, but also keep supporting the game. So it's like I think some DLC content is warranted in that decision. To me, so I think in Video Game Awards, uh, Final Fantasy 7 or no, Final Fantasy 14 is one of those games that's on there. I think that makes sense.
Didn't Final Fantasy 14 literally win that award last year?
I think so. And like I think maybe World of Warcraft was one of the nominees one year too, because they're also ongoing. But like I also feel like games like Minecraft and Grand Theft Auto Online do get overlooked in that regard because they don't get like big fanfare anymore, but they are still going. And that alone on longevity is kind of nuts. And their DLC is free and you can just play and play and play.
I'm
Whereas you have to get like for Final Fantasy 14, not that the content is good, but you have to, you still have to pay your subscription pass.
I'm so surprised with the support that Minecraft is getting. Like I said, it has been more than 15 years since it was first released as like a little web applet where all you could do was
Hmm.
just place blocks in a sandbox. It was insanely good back then. And uh, ever since Microsoft obtained Minecraft, they've just gone insane with it. Anybody who looked at that acquisition would have said Microsoft paid way too much. They paid like something like 2 billion for
Hmm.
Minecraft. It's insane. They are clearly trying to get all of their money out of it. All money
Yeah.
possible out of Minecraft.
But I would say that they're also not actually squeezing Minecraft, the actual game to bits. Like I still feel like it retains the heart of the original
Correct me if I'm
uh
wrong. There is no battle pass in Minecraft.
yeah, no battle pass. It's a lot of
And that
there's
alone,
still a heavy amount of community development for it.
the fact that there's no battle pass makes it better than the longevity for so many other games.
Oh yeah.
I'm looking at you, Overwatch.
I've heard some things about Overwatch recently, but let's move on. Um, I guess it's probably worth mentioning that um, the ultimate game of the year choice was
Black
Black
Myth
Myth
Wukong.
Wukong. Yes.
How do you feel
Um,
about that?
so Black Myth Wukong is a really weird game for me personally. Not because I don't think it's a good game. I I followed Black Myth Wukong, I think for about 6 years.
Okay.
Like I have known about it for a long time. Um, and being of Chinese descent and being aware of like Journey of the West to the West and um essentially the lore building of that world. I was super looking forward to it. I actually ended up not buying it and not playing it. I did watch a couple of stream playthroughs of it. Um, everyone knows it's a beautiful game. It's probably one of the best looking games
Oh, it's
technologically out there
gorgeous.
ever. Thematically, I do think it's fairly on point. There's a few things here and there that, not surprisingly, aren't gonna uh be all that well translated into a game. Um, and aside from things like, I heard there's like some studio drama. I don't want to get into that at all, but I from the gameplay, like I'm just talking about gameplay that I saw, I did kind of hope for a little bit more. It's almost too straightforward for me. There's not enough nuance in that world
That's what
that
I
they've
heard.
built.
That was the biggest criticism that I heard of Black Myth Wukong
Yeah,
is that
and
what is there is really solid and really well done and really well polished,
yeah,
but it just doesn't have very deep gameplay.
no. And it doesn't necessarily have to, because I will always say that I think Game of the Year is sort of a complicated, it's a more complicated category for me than some other people. Some people will just be like, this was the best game for like for example, they'll be like in similar action adventure RPG type categories where you might have a uh uh Legend of Zelda like Tears of the Kingdom maybe versus like a Elden Ring, right?
Yeah.
A lot of people will go for Elden Ring, but I will always argue that accessibility has a big part to play.
Okay.
So, because that's a big thing to me is that games should be not just immersive, not just great at storytelling, have a great soundtrack, voice that it needs to have voice acting, that it needs to have um the best graphics ever, and it needs to have the deepest story ever with the most character nuance, you know, worthy of several whatever the hell they give awards for writing in the real world outside of video gaming. But games need to be enjoyed by the people, and not all games are enjoyable by the people in the sense that some games are just too hard, or
Oh
some
yeah,
games
that's
are
fair.
just too challenging, or thematically too deep for more people. I'm not saying it should be watered down. That is different. But like, I think, or rather, I really truly believe that categories like Game of the Year need to account for audience appeal to every, like, the wider the better. Um, which means like an FPS would probably never win. Like there's some certain categories of games that'll just never win.
Well, I mean, like,
Like
if we
in my
take
opinion,
accessibility into account, we can
yeah,
say certain things like Phasmophobia is a fantastic game. It's rough
yeah.
around the edges, but hundreds of thousands of people loved that game or loved that game, and it just gives me infinite motion sickness, and I can't play it. If
Mm.
I try to play it, it doesn't matter if I try to play it in VR or on the desktop. Within 30 minutes, I'm feeling physically ill. Uh,
And that really, like, I hate hearing that
and
because
that goes on
I
to
think it's
say,
a good
like,
game.
well, Elden Ring is a very hard game. If you want to
Hmm.
experience all of Elden Ring, you have to have very strong, like, dexterity, like, not in game stat, like, actual manual dexterity. You've got to have really fast reflexes. You have to be a physically able gamer. And there are a lot of people where that's just not an option.
I'm just gonna go ahead and say that I probably side with the way Nintendo develops games more than how any other studio, big studio, AAA studio develops games, which is fun has to be the most important factor. And fun isn't always because you're being challenged to your limits, or
Yeah.
fun isn't always because you are metagaming to the point where you're planning out builds or like, super deep
Some people like
strategies.
video games that are actually just spreadsheets in disguise. And other
Yes.
people just want to jump on Goomba.
And I am not disparaging anything because I play so many varieties of genres, and those genres have their own categories in gaming
Yeah.
for awards and things like that. But again, just for Game of the Year, it should have to be a little bit more accessible.
Do you find that Wukong was an inaccessible game? Do you feel like it's too deep or too A bit complex
I think a
or
lot of
difficult?
people don't really get the uh the fantasy world that it's set in.
All
They're
right.
like, "Ooh, Chinese myth." I'm like, "All right, yeah, kind of." Like a lot of people have an idea of it, maybe from things like somewhat associated media in like, I don't know, Dragon Ball in a
Dragon
sense, because
Ball,
Dragon Ball
Jackie Chan
was based off
Adventures.
of, yeah, it's sort of like I wonder how many people missed the like the actual, maybe people did more research
You know,
after the fact, and that's fine.
I think that there is a validity to that, though, where they take a mythology, they bend it to what they need it to be for that piece of media.
Yeah.
And then, quite frankly, if that interests someone to go and research it later on, that's kind of a good thing. Like, how many kids watched Disney's Hercules, got really into Greek mythology, realized that there was some hecked up stuff in Greek mythology, and had a really great time about it.
Yeah. Like
The
I
same
don't
kind of thing
disagree with
happens
that.
with the Marvel Thor movies and other people looking into Norse mythology and such.
Hmm.
Uh, so I feel like as a jumping off point, even if it gets some things wrong or muddies the waters a little bit, I
I
think
think a
there's
lot, I
validity
think
to
it's
that.
not, to be fair, because the developer team themselves were Chinese, I don't really think it's them getting things wrong. I think it's more of a Western audience
Understanding.
not caring so much about what the content is, and more that like it was a hyped game that delivered fairly enough and also looked good, but they just have fewer understanding of the actual like storyline behind it and how
Okay.
much story there is. There's quite a lot, but like it doesn't take away from it initially.
All I know is that eventually our boy, Monkey, gets so strong that they bury him under a mountain. All the gods just bury him under a mountain. And to my
Yep.
understanding, this game starts when some absolute Chad digs him out.
That is, again,
And then
that's
Wukong is
definitely,
like, you know what?
yeah.
Time to
I'm gonna
get
get
my
my revenge against the
revenge. I
gods.
got my big red stick.
I feel like in some ways it has far more in common with God of War than it does
Oh,
with uh like Journey to the West. If I had to
interesting.
make a Journey to the West game, I would probably make it more of a Baldur's Gate style RPG
All right. No, I can see where
because
you're
of,
coming from there.
yeah.
Because
And
when you look back at to be fair, I've basically just watched YouTube mythology explained about
hmm
Wukong,
hmm
and there are a lot of like things he's done that you just can't put into a game.
hmm
But if you include it as something of a uh, strategy or almost like visual novel with gameplay elements or things of that nature, suddenly it's a lot easier to put those in and make them make sense, to
hmm
gamify them.
I will put it out there, I guess, through all of this. My pick for game of the year from everything I've seen and some of what I've played, I think even though I don't have a PS5, so I'd have no way of playing it, I think Astrobot should be the game of the year.
I believe it still has its chance.
It's a video
It is
game
nominated for
award
the Video Game
nominee.
Awards.
Yeah,
I don't know. Balatro might dethrone it. We'll have
it
to
could.
see.
But Balatro, I think it deserves to be in the categories that it is in outside of game of the year. Game of the year is maybe too much of a reach. It's a really, really, really good game, and I can see why it could be in a conversation. But I think it's also more of an inclusion where they were like, we should probably put an indie game out there to be considered a game of the year, even though it'll probably never win based on the voting system and everything. So I don't know.
I'm not
I'd
going
be
to
very
lie.
surprised.
I just don't want Final Fantasy VII Rebirth or Elden Ring Shadow of the Erd Tree to win because one is a remake and the other is a DLC. I am going to be salty about that. I am going to be gatekeepy about that.
Mm.
Quite frankly, if Astrobot wins, I think that is the best for the state of the industry. If Balatro wins, I think that everybody's going to be laughing and high-fiving and being like, fuck yeah, Balatro.
I remember that one year during COVID that Among Us won, and that team was so cute when they didn't win Game of the Year, but they won like Best Indie. They were so happy.
Oh hell yeah, and they deserved it.
Yeah, and I believe Balatro is a one-man development team, so
hell
always happy to see that level of like people can still do that. It doesn't always seem like it.
I want to see one-man armies getting chosen over millions of dollars of corporate interests.
Yes. You can do all the marketing in the world. You can do all the, hyping and trying to do viral marketing.
But one man with some pixel art jokers can take you down.
Exactly. I still haven't played it myself. I really should. It looks super fun. Maybe I'll download it today because it is my kind of game too. I just watched a lot of it, so when I watch a lot of something, I actually play less of it because I feel like I know it too well already.
All right, that's fair.
It is what it is.
There are certain things where when I watch it, I want to do it myself. And then there are certain things where I watch it, I realize I would not enjoy doing this myself.
I agree. But things that I do enjoy doing are putting out podcast episodes with you.
Yay!
And we'll do another one next week.
Yay!
Thanks for listening, everyone. Take care.